Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama.
Hare Krishna, respected devotees, please accept my most humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. I hope all of you are doing well. Arushi Mataji, allow devotees to unmute for now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranams.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat.
Hare Krishna, Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,
Dhanvat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
So,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanvat Pranam.
Mataji, I hope all of you have started studying. My main purpose of coming today early is I just want to make sure, I hope all of you have started studying. How many of you have started studying? Can you just write in the group? Can you just write in the chat box? Yes, we have started studying. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Srila Prabhupada, when he was writing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the circumstances in which he wrote Śrīmad Bhāgavatam and the whole journey is very inspiring. When he was when he was at Radha Damodar and he was compiling the first 3 volumes of Bhagavatam, he actually translated it, commented on it, but he had no money actually to print it. It was very, very difficult. So he was looking for some help who can print. So after going to various people and getting no help, finally he decided to go to Bhaiji Hanuman Prasad Poddar from Gita Press Gorakhpur. So he took his manuscripts, he took his work, and he went to Gorakhpur and showed his work to Sri Bhaiji Hanuman Prasad Poddar. Bhaiji Hanuman Prasad Poddar went through it, and he said, Prabhupada ji, I was waiting for this, that someone would translate this work into English, because all of us might know that Bhaiji Hanuman Prasad Poddar wrote that Hindi translation of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is available in 2 volumes with Gita Press, and it is actually a commentary of Sripad Sridhar Swamipad, and that.
Speaker आगे पहले.
Can you please mute Prabhu, Achyut Govind Prabhu, or Shrimataji, just unmute everybody. So Srila Prabhupada, they both became very good friends. Bhagavatam brought them together. Hanuman Prasad Poddarji also is a very prominent Vaishnava. He was from the prominent Vaishnava Sampradaya, Nimbark Sampradaya, and he was a great lover of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he told Prabhupada that I will print your books, because Prabhupada wanted to go to Western world for preaching. So Bhaiji Hanuman Prasad Poddar arranged, that means Gita Press arranged the printing of the first book, first 3 volumes of Prabhupada's Bhagavatam, and that is what he carried with him to the Western world. And Prabhupada, the further work, when he went to Jalduta and when he carried that weapon, Prabhupada used to call that this Bhagavatam is nothing but as a weapon, right? Weapon with which he conquered the world. So when he went there in the Western world, what exactly did he do? If you very carefully analyze, during the day he was preaching, talking around, meeting different devotees, but in the night he was spending good amount of time with translating, writing down all the further commentaries of Srimad Bhagavatam. So he took great effort. He took great effort and for writing this Srimad Bhagavatam, this commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. And for what was his purpose? Why did Srila Prabhupada ji took such an effort so that, what was his purpose? What was his reason behind that during the day he was preaching, in the night he was awake and he was translating. His main reason was he was very kind, that he wanted that the devotees who joined this Hare Krishna movement, they get an opportunity to study Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So for this whole purpose, so that devotees can easily access the transcendental nectarian pastimes of Lord Krishna from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, he took efforts, because he knew he had very limited time. That's why he was working day and night for all of us. And this Bhakti Yoga and the purports are something very, very special. When we teach Srimad Bhagavatam in certain way in our advanced courses, what happens is that each Prabhupada's purport, each section is coming from the writing of some acharyas. So whatever he has written in the form of purports, it is actually coming from the different acharyas. He has not given some mental speculation. No. If someone is a Sanskrit scholar and if he has studied very carefully other writings of the acharyas, then he will come to know, he can actually relate that purport. He can explain that purport from that this is coming from Vishwanath Chandra Thakur, this is coming from Sripad Sridhar Swami, this is coming from V. Raghavacharya, this is coming from Sripad Vallabhacharya, this is coming from. So Prabhupada has actually very scrutinizingly in detail gave us the essence of all the writings of the acharyas. And in a very simple way. English is a very difficult language. Vaishnava philosophy, to describe Vaishnava philosophy is not easy. And he has made that miracle. I often say that Srila Prabhupada has delivered the English language actually. How did he deliver the English language? By writing commentary on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam in it. So, now what is our duty? Hare Krishna, our duty now is to hear from Krishna Prem Rupa Prabhu. And at the same time, read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So, I am very, very glad. I am very, very grateful, very, very thankful to my dear friend Krishna Prem Rupa Prabhu. His journey is amazing. I will be narrating his journey to all of you, dear devotees. Let us welcome Krishna Prem Rupa Prabhu. He's very grounded, very humble Vaishnava, but he is serving as a GBC of the European nations, one of the few countries. He is a GBC. But if you meet him, he is a very simple person. So let me take this as an opportunity to glorify a very dear Vaishnava. Prabhuji was born in February 1977 in Zurich, Switzerland. He was raised in a Catholic environment. He traveled across Asia as a spiritual seeker, and there he encountered Buddhism, and he developed a desire for a monastic life. His journey took a turn when he read Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, and that led him to the path of Bhakti Yoga in Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. At the age of 24, at the age of 24, Prabhuji joined ISKCON temple in Zurich. He spent a year in Odisha, deepening his understanding of Krishna consciousness, and where he met his revered spiritual master, His Holiness Srila Bhakti Swarup Damodar Swami Maharaj. And he received initiation in December 2002 in Imphal, Manipur. I had that fortune to visit that place and also the birthplace of Maharaj. So Prabhuji took initiation in Manipur, and that's the place where every Vaishnava there in that particular place, Manipur, you will see every people there, even citizens there, you will see them with tilak. That is probably a Vaishnava state. Although the current political situation not be good, but there mostly everybody is in Vaishnava tilak. So Prabhuji later served in ISKCON Zurich as a head cook, pujari, and teacher for newcomers. In 2007, he became a temple president. He served for 14 years until 2021. He also served as a zonal supervisor for ISKCON Switzerland and also as a global duty officer. Now, alongside management, he loves to cook. He organizes pilgrimages to India for various devotees. He has brought so many devotees to India. He conducts japa retreats. He participates in interfaith and communication initiatives. He is a dedicated teacher. He's a lover of Bhagavat. He's a lover of Srimad Bhagavatam. He himself reads Srimad Bhagavatam on daily basis and preaches them across the world. He's a dedicated preacher, qualified to teach any subject matter of Shastra. He contributes also to the ISKCON Ministry of Education. He contributes to the Guru Service Committee. He extensively preaches across the world. He knows various languages. And then he was recently in February 2025, Prabhuji was appointed as a GBC for Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and some other country. So it is a pleasure to have Prabhu. He will be very soon sannyasi also. So it is my great honor to welcome Krishna Prem Prabhu. Thank you so much. You're very kind. You're very merciful. Let us all say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Prem Rupa Prabhu ki Jai. All to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Brajasundar Prabhu, for this very warm welcome. Thank you for your wonderful, outstanding service and for inviting me to this program. I think it's a very nice initiative, helping the devotees to gain more taste in hearing and reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So, yeah, very great pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you. And of course, if those devotees who are able to switch on their camera, it would be great, so I can see your bright Vaishnavi faces. This gives me more encouragement to talk. It would be great. Nice to see you. Hare Krishna. All right, so I think we will start and dive in. I was given the shloka Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 1.3.40, and basically this shloka glorifies the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, gives the identity and the purpose of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and in the purport Srila Prabhupada highlights the importance of hearing Bhagavatam from the Vaishnavas. So this will be the main topic, and we will read the text and the purport, we give a little context, and then we dive into this wonderful glorification of the Bhagavatam. Yeah? Just chant. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we'll read from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. This is Canto 1, Chapter 3, text 40. The text goes like this. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakra Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Shasya Lokasya Dhanyam Svastyaya Namahat. And then we have word by word. I'll go straight to the translation. This Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is a literary incarnation of God, and it's compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. The incarnation of God, it is meant for the ultimate good for all people, and it's all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared that Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the spotless, sound representation of all Vedic knowledge and history. There are selected histories of great devotees or in direct contact with the personality of Godhead. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the literary incarnation of Lord Sri Krishna and is therefore non-different from him. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam should be worshipped as respectfully as we worship the Lord. Thereby, we can derive the ultimate blessings of the Lord through its careful and patient study. As God is all light, all bliss, and all perfection, so also is Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. We can have all the transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, from the recitation of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, provided it is received through the medium of the transparent spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya's private secretary, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, advised all intending visitors who came to see the Lord at Puri to make a study of the Bhagavatam from the person Bhagavatam. Person Bhagavatam is the self-realized bona fide spiritual master, and through him only can one understand the lessons of the Bhagavatam in order to receive the desired result. One can derive from the study of the Bhagavatam all benefits that are possible to be derived from the personal presence of the Lord. It carries with it all the transcendental blessings of Lord Sri Krishna that you can expect from his personal contact. Very beautiful purport, very powerful. It's not so difficult to give a class on this. There's so much and wealth in this short purport. So just of my prayers, and then we start. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ginanjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Vistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Text again. This Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it's compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It's meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it's all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. So this verse gives the identity and the purport of the Bhagavatam. Who is the Bhagavatam and what is the purport of the Bhagavatam, the purpose, and also glorifies the Bhagavatam as good as God. So before we dive into this topic, I'd just like to give a little bit the content. So we are here in the first canto. This is the chapter is entitled "Krishna is the source of all incarnations," right? And in the beginning of the first canto, the sages of Naimisharanya, they ask different questions to Sutta Goswamis, like what is the highest good for humanity? What is the essence of all scriptures? What is the purpose of Lord Krishna's appearance? What are the Purusha avatars? What are the Lila avatars? And where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? So these were questions that the sages raised. And basically in the first 3 chapters, Sutta Goswami, these questions are addressed and answered. And specifically in this chapter 3, we have a description of avatars. And of course we know there's many avatars. Usually we speak of the Das avatar, the 10 main avatars, but of course we know actually the Lord has as many avatars as there are waves in the ocean. There is unlimited avatars. And in this chapter 25 avatars in different categories are described. And then of course we have the famous text towards the end of the chapter, Ete Changsa Kala Pongsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam, where is established that actually Krishna is the original personality. He is the avatari. He is the original person. He is the source of all these avatars. So this shloka is also known as the Parivas Sutra. The Parivas Sutra is the emperor or the king shloka which defines all the other. So the Bhagavatam has, as we know, 18,000 shlokas, but these 18,000 shlokas have to be understood through the lens of the Parivas Sutra. And the Parivas Sutra is this shloka, Ite Changsa Kala Pungsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svam, that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, he's the origin. So that's part of this chapter. And then, according to Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur, he comments on today's shloka, comments as follows. O Sutta, what novel scriptures unheard before this time are you reciting? To this, Sutta replies in this verse. So basically in the shloka that we just read today, 340, Sutta Goswami explains that this is the Bhagavatam. This is the literary incarnation of the Lord. It is not an ordinary scripture, but it is actually the Lord himself. And of course, this is a series of texts. We have text 40 to 44 who glorify the Bhagavatam. Another famous shloka is Krishne Svadamuga Pate Dharma Gyanabi Saha Kaula Nashatrisham Esha Puranarkodunonito, that this Bhagavatam Purana is brilliant as the sun. It has arisen just after the departure of Lord Krishna to his own abode, accompanied by religion and knowledge, and persons who have lost their vision due to the dense darkness of ignorance in the age of Kali shall get light from this Purana, right? So that's also part of the glorification of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is brilliant as the sun. It's meant to give light to the people in the age of Kali. And the text that we read today, is in the line of these shlokas glorifying the Bhagavatam and saying that it's a literary incarnation of God. And it's meant to give ultimate good to everyone. So maybe you can start with this question. I mean, how is it that a book is like God? It's kind of an interesting concept, isn't it? And of course, Srila Sanatana Goswami also, in his prayers to the Bhagavatam, makes this point. He says, Sarva Shastrapti Piyusha, Sarva Vedakya Satphala, Sarva Siddhantaratnatya, Sarva Lokya Drika Prada, Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Prabhu, Kalitvanto Didityaya, Shri Krishna Parivartita. Shri Krishna Parivartita. You are actually Lord Krishna who has returned among us. No? The Bhagavatam is compared to, it's the prominent fruit of the Vedas. It has all the conclusion of the Vedas. And it's the life breath of the Vaishnavas. It has arisen like a sun, as we heard. And you are actually Krishna. You're an incarnation of Krishna. So, but how is it that a book is an incarnation of God? Or how is it that God incarnates as a book? We know various books, or various avatars, I mean. There is the Purusha avatar, Guna avatar, Lila avatar, Shakti Vesh avatar, Manvantar, Yuga avatar. There's many different categories of avatars. But here it says that the Lord appears as a book avatar, Granta avatar. So, but in a way it's not so surprising, because the Lord, out of his kindness, compassion, does take different forms. Not only does he come in different incarnation, but he also manifests himself in various forms. Can you think of another way the Lord actually manifests in this world, beside of he personally coming? Anyone has an idea? How does the Lord sometimes also appear or manifest? I think you can in the chat. You're communicating in the chat. Okay. Yes. Holy name. Sound. Fish. Okay. Yeah. Matsya avatar. Right. So Archa Vigra. Right. Exactly. Bhagavad Gita. Yes. The Lord appears, for example, as Archa Vigra, and Prabhupada explains. This is from a purport. Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says, the transcendental form of the Lord installed in a temple is not different from the Lord personally. Such a form of the Lord is called Archa Vigraha, or Archa Incarnation. So, and then Prabhupada says in another purport, just as the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts various incarnations, like Matsya, Kurma, Ram, and so on, he takes on forms made of matter, clay, wood, metal, and jewels. So, the Lord sometimes appears in these forms, and that's also a kind of avatar. Then we find another interesting statement by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is in a conversation with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and his brother Vidya Vachaspati. And there Chaitanya makes a statement. He says, Daru Chala Rupa Krishna Prakta Samprati Darshanesna Nekare Chivera Mukati Daru Brahma Rupa Shakshat Shri Purushottama Bhagirati Hana Shakshat Chala Brahma Sama. In this age of Kali, Krishna is manifest in two forms, wood and water, Daru, Chala. Thus, by enabling the conditioned soul to see the wood and bathe in the water, he helps him to become liberated. So Lord Jagannath is the Supreme Lord himself in the form of wood, and the river Ganges is the Supreme Lord himself in the form of water. So very interesting, no? In Kali, the Lord appears as wood and as water. And of course, as some of you also pointed out in the chat, the Lord appears also as sound, especially in the age of Kali. Kali Kali Namirupa Krishna Avatar. No? In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, Maha mantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this can become liberated. So Krishna is so kind that he, in many different ways, he manifests. So therefore, the Padma Purana declares that no one should consider the deity in a temple made of stone. Nobody should consider the spiritual master an ordinary person. One should not consider a Vaishnava to belong to a certain caste or creed. One should not think that the Charanamrita or the Ganges water is an ordinary water, or mantras, holy name is an ordinary sound. And if someone does so, he has what? An hellish mentality. someone who thinks like that, he has a he has a hellish mentality. So we understand Krishna is very kind, he expands, and therefore if the Lord incarnates as deity, stone, wood, water, sound, why not as a book, right? And of course we understand what is a book. Basically this is also sound. This is recorded sound, right? And we understand Nam, Krishna's name, Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's form, this is all is absolute, on the absolute platform. So when we chant the name of Krishna, the name is non-different from the person, and the guna, the qualities and the description of Krishna are also non-different from the person, and therefore it's recorded sound, and in this way the book becomes also absolute. And we know there is two kinds of Krishna Katha. There is Katha spoken by Krishna and Katha spoken about Krishna, right? So the Gita is Krishna Katha, the words spoken by Krishna, and Bhagavatam is Krishna Katha spoken about Krishna. Mainly, of course, sometimes Krishna also speaks directly. So, but in any case, this is the one way to understand how this Bhagavatam actually is non-different from the Lord. And we have heard this before, but it's good to reflect how much do we have realized that, and how much do we know when we hold the Bhagavatam in our hands and when we study, how much do we understand? I am now directly in touch with Krishna. I get a chance now to directly interact and experience Krishna personally. The more we are able to realize this, the more our study can actually go deeper. And I'm sure many of you have some personal experience how Shastra actually is very alive, isn't it? Sometimes we have something that is really on our minds, or we have some worries, some difficulties, some problems, and then we go to the Bhagavatam class and all of a sudden, just the shloka just exactly talks about the topic that we are kind of concerned about. Or we all have experience opening the book somewhere and then all of a sudden the book talks to us. So we can understand from our practical experience also that the book is actually very much alive. I heard a class in preparation from Shesha Prabhu, former Minister of Education in ISKCON. He tells a story how they had a small like a house program or a small place, and they wanted to establish an altar, but it didn't have. They had a nice table, but it didn't have any pictures. They didn't have any murti, so they were wondering. So, but how? What should we put on the altar? No. And then at that moment, when they're raising the question, they heard a sound, and then there was some noise, and they went to the next room, and a Chaitanya Charitamrita book fell from the bookshelf, and on the front page there was the Panchatattva. So basically, the Panchatattva, the book jumped from the shelf to say, "Me, take me on the altar." So then they put the book with a picture of Panchatattva on the altar and worshipped it. So the book can be very alive, can even jump from the shelf if needed. So that's, and I'm sure many of you have personal experience with the power of how Shastra is alive. Now, this is what when we talk about the book incarnation. Now, Srila Prabhupada in the purport makes a very strong emphasis. Yes, Prabhupada also highlights the fact that the Bhagavatam is non different from the Lord. But then Prabhupada focuses on the point that we can have all transcendental light of the Supreme Brahman, Shri Krishna, from the recitation of the Bhagavatam, provided it is received through the medium of the transparent spiritual master. So Prabhupada emphasizes this point. Yes, Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna, and we have a chance to directly associate with Krishna. But how do we approach Krishna? Through the devotees. So similarly, the Bhagavatam, we also need to approach through the devotees. And that's why we have this principle of two types of Bhagavat. What are the two types of Bhagavat? Granta Bhagavat, Bhakta Bhagavat, right? The book, Granta is the book Bhagavat, and the Bhakta person Bhagavat. And We find this also described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Adi Lila 198 to 200 expresses that how the two, basically it's a glorification of Gaur-Nitai, how the two brothers, they appeared like a sun and moon, dissipate the darkness of the inner core of the heart, and thus they help one to meet the two kinds of Bhagavatas. And then it further says, Eka Bhagavata Bhada Bhagavata Shastra Are Bhagavata Bhakta Bhakta Rasa Patra. One of the Bhagavatas is the great scriptures, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, and the other is the pure devotee absorbed in mellows of loving devotion. Through the action of these two Bhagavats, the Lord instills the mellow of transcendental loving service into the heart of a living being, and thus the Lord in the heart of his devotee comes under the control of his devotee's love. So that's Krishna's transcendental arrangement. No? He manifests himself as the Bhagavatam, and then he manifests himself through the transparent medium of the spiritual master. Because who is Guru? Guru is Sri Krishna Kripa Murti. The Guru is a form, a Murti. What kind of form? Krishna Kripa. If we have received Krishna's mercy, how do we know we have received Krishna's mercy? If we get the association of his devotees, especially if you receive a spiritual master. That's how Krishna manifests in front of us through a devotee. And then he manifests in the form of Guru and in the form of Bhagavatam. And in the combination, Krishna will help us to purify the heart, and then the love will be developed. And of course, we know the famous shlokas in the Bhagavatam, Shrinvata Sakata Krishna and Nashta Prayesha Abhadreshu, that when someone develops an urge to hear, then the heart will be purified, and if by regular attendance of the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotee. And that's basically there, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. What does it mean, Bhagavata Sevaya? It's service to both the Granta Bhagavat and the Bhakta Bhagavat. And also there in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very extensively makes the point that there's two types of Bhagavatas, namely book and devotee Bhagavat. And it's interesting, Prabhupada says both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them, or either one of them, can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. So Prabhupada says actually both of them are powerful enough to help us, but then he says nevertheless one should go through the Bhakta Bhagavat, because we can read, that's one thing, but then when we hear, that's even more powerful. And that's when we read the book. What do we read in the book? You go and approach a spiritual master. So like that. So there's many, and interestingly enough, Srila Prabhupada, in the purport, he highlights this pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, right? So this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, in the 5th chapter. We find this description. It's a lengthy description, about 70 shlokas, describes this pastime. And it starts with basically a Brahmana from Bengal. He wrote a drama, a nice pastime about Lord Krishna's, and he wrote a drama. And this Bengali Brahmana came to Puri, and he wanted to present his poetry to the Lord. And he stayed with his friend Bhagavan Acharya. Bhagavan Acharya was one of the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he stayed at his house. And first the Brahmana represented Bhagavan Acharya with the drama, and then many other devotees joined. And all the devotees, they said, Parama Uttama, very good, sadhu, sadhu. The devotees liked that drama very much. Yeah. And but it was the custom that before, as Prabhupada points out, before some poetry or some writing would be presented before Chaitanya, first it has to go through Swarup Damodar. Why? Because Swarup Damodar would actually listen, and if he could see that there is some rasa basa or some improper philosophies or misconception, then he would reject it. Because they only wanted to present to Mahaprabhu nice poetry based on Siddhanta, like that. So when Bhagavan Acharya requested Swarup Damodar, please, you should listen, you should hear this drama, Swarup Damodar already could understand, Bhagavan Acharya, you're a very liberal person, and you like any kind of poetry, but I'm not so sure. And then for 2-3 days, Bhagavan Acharya again asked Swarup Damodar, please hear. And then finally, Swarup Damodar, okay, he sat down with other devotees and they heard the poetry. And what was the poetry? I'll read it to you. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has assumed a golden complexion and has become the soul of the body named Lord Jagannath, whose blooming lotus eyes are widely expanded. Thus he has appeared in Jagannath Puri and brought dull matter to life. May that Lord Sri Chaitanya Dev bestow all good fortune upon you. How do you like the poetry? So there is basically the poet says that there is Jagannath and there is Mahaprabhu, and they're non-different. No, that point he got. Actually, this is the Lord. They're both Krishna, and when Mahaprabhu came, he brought life. So is this a nice poetry? I see some clapping hands, some hearts. Exploding hearts. So the devotees also, everyone was clapping. Very nice, very nice. But then Swarup Damodar was requested, kindly explain the verse. And then the poet said, Lord Jagannath is most beautiful body, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is exceptionally grave, is the owner of that body. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has appeared here in Nilachal to spiritualize the entire dull material world. So everyone was happy, but Swarup Damodar, who alone was very unhappy, and he began to speak in great anger. He said, Are murkha apanara kaliya sarvanasha duita ishvara tora naika vishvasa. You're a fool. You have brought ill fortune upon yourself, for you have no knowledge of the existence of the two lords, Jagannath Dev and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, nor do you have faith in them. Lord Jagannath is completely spiritual and full of transcendental bliss, but you have compared him to dull, destructible body composed of inert external energy of the Lord. So that was, do you understand? That was the fault. He said, Jagannath is dull wood, and Mahaprabhu has come and he has given life to that Jagannath wood. But that's a mistake, because Jagannath is already alive, Jagannath is not just dull, it's not just wood, it's actually the Lord who is manifested as Lord Jagannath. And there is no need for Mahaprabhu to come to give life to Jagannath. Jagannath is already there. So it's a subtle point. In the beginning it sounds nice, but it's a subtle point. But Swarup Damodar, he could understand. As the only one, everyone else felt it was nice, but he pointed it out. And then so he chastised. There's many shlokas, he's hammering on him, chastising him. Prabhupada also explains, if one thinks that the form of Lord Jagannath is an ideal made of wood, he immediately brings ill fortune into his life. Prabhupada quotes the Padma Purana that we already quoted before. Thus, one who thinks that the body of Lord Jagannath is made of matter and who distinguishes between Lord Jagannath's body and his soul is condemned, for he is an offender. A pure devotee knows the signs of Krishna consciousness, makes no distinction between Lord Jagannath and his body. So that's why this philosophy, this poetry was faulty, there was mistake. And then Swarup Damodar continues, because you have committed an offense to Lord Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you will attain a hellish destination. Very heavy chastisement. So when the Bengali poet heard this chastisement from Swarup Damodar, he was ashamed, fearful, and also astonished. Indeed, being like a duck in a society of white swans, he could not say anything. So, like a duck in the assembly of many swans, Paramahansa, he felt very, oh my God, what did I do? I did a mistake. Oh Krishna. At least he was humble. He immediately understood I did a mistake. He took a humble position, and he felt very bad. So seeing the poet's unhappiness, Swarup Damodar Goswami, who was naturally very kind-hearted, advised him so that derive some benefit. And here comes now the shloka that Srila Prabhupada has paraphrased in today's purport. Yaha Bhagavata Pada Vaishnavera Stane Ekanta Ashrayakara Chaitanya Charane. This is Chaitanya Antya Lila 531. Yaha Bhagavat Pada Vaishnavera Stane Ekanta Ashrayakara Chaitanya Charane. If you want to understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, you must approach a self-realized Vaishnava and hear from him. You can do this when you have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. No? So you should accept the Pada Vaishnavera, you should accept the lotus feet of a Vaishnava, surrender, and that you can only do if you're a devotee of Krishna, a devotee of Mahaprabhu. Then you can, should be a devotee of Mahaprabhu and you should take shelter of a Vaishnava. And then Swarup Damodar continued, associate regularly with the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for then only will you understand the waves of the ocean of devotional service. The waves of the ocean of devotional service. You can understand if you associate with the devotees. And upon hearing this, the Bengali poet fell at the feet of the devotees and took shelter of them with a straw between his teeth. He was very humble, so he immediately took shelter. And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he ends the narration by saying, who can explain the mercy of the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? They're very kind. So, but yeah, this is an important shloka. Ya Bhagavat Pada Vaishnava Stane. And this is what Prabhupada emphasized. Yes, the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is Krishna himself, and the Bhagavatam itself is very powerful. Nevertheless, we should take the help of a Vaishnava to understand the Bhagavatam. Any idea why is that so? Why do we? It seems to be a little bit contradictory, no? If the Bhagavatam is Krishna himself, Bhagavatam is so powerful, Bhagavatam, that Shastra can talk to us directly also, then why do we now all of a sudden need help of a Vaishnava? Any idea? What is the Vaishnava be able doing what the book cannot do, or what are reasons? You can type in the chat if you like. Krishna can be understood by his devotees, yes. Vaishnava is more merciful than the Lord. Okay, that's interesting, yes. Fruit touched by parrot is sweeter. Okay, that's nice. That the Shukha, yeah. Vaishnava reveals us. We need a mercy. Disciplic succession. Remove doubts in the mind, yes. We have 4 defects. Yes, I mean that's all right what you wrote. Once Srila Prabhupada was asked by a devotee, I think Sarvabhauma, yeah? No, Sarvabhava Prabhu. He's an Indian, a devotee who but had studied in Berlin in Germany. He still lives in Berlin. So he once asked Prabhupada, why do we need to hear from a person? Why can't we just read? And then Prabhupada says, because the book cannot pull your ear. No? If you read, no, book is always kind. Maybe sometimes you open some place where it's also a little heavy, but the book will not be able to pull your ear. In other words, we need to accept a guru and a teacher who sometimes can correct us also, who can chastise us, Because when we just rely on the book, then we can read, we get inspiration, but we can interpret in our own way. But it's important that we need someone to guide us while we study. And so there is a few Prabhupada statements. This is a letter to Punjab Premanand, 1976. Reading or hearing from the realized person, there is no difference. But hearing the sound vibration from the realized soul is still more effective, better. So, yes, because that's sometimes also a little controversy. Isn't it enough we can just read Prabhupada's books? Prabhupada said, I will be forever living in my books, right? So you can associate with Prabhupada by reading his books, and that's true. So we don't want to minimize Prabhupada's Shakti. Certainly Prabhupada is alive and Prabhupada can communicate to us. We don't want to minimize the power of the Shastra, but nevertheless, the Shastra itself guides us to the sadhus. This is the process that wants us to listen from a sadhu. And this is also emphasized. Prabhupada says, books are not sufficient. If books were sufficient for knowledge, then there was no need of a spiritual master. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is tat vigyanartam sagurum eva abhikachit. One must go to a guru. Simply reading books is not sufficient. One must hear from the lips of the spiritual master. This hearing process is very important. Many quotes, and basically Prabhupada gives the example of university. No, if you want to become a doctor, it's not enough to just read books on medicine, but then you shall go to a professor, you sign up for the university, and then you have to hear lessons from the professor, you write exam, and then when you pass, you may be given the title of practicing as a doctor. But just reading book will not be enough. So similarly, in spiritual life, books are there, books are alive, books are very powerful, but then also we need to study the books under the guidance of the spiritual master. And I think we'll take a question at the end. You can just note it down. It's also interesting, in the same section that we are reading, Canto 1, Chapter 3, Text 44, like 3 shlokas later, Shuddha Goswami says that all learned Brahmanas, when Shukadev Goswami recited Bhagavatam, there in the presence of the Emperor Parikshit, I heard it with rapt attention, and thus by his mercy I learned the Bhagavatam from that great and powerful sage. Now I shall try to make you hear the same very thing as I learned it from him and as I have realized it. So that's basically parampara, no? We hear and then we repeat. And again in the purport, Prabhupada gives the same point. One can certainly see directly the presence of Lord Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam if one has heard it from self-realized great souls like Shukadev Goswami. So yes, the book is not different from the Bhagavatam, and we can experience Krishna if we hear it from a realized soul. If someone hears with a rapt attention from the right person, at the very beginning, one can assuredly see Lord Shri Krishna in person in the pages of the Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says. No, we can surely see Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatam. Have you seen already Krishna in the pages? Maybe on a picture of the BBT picture. But the idea is that we can actually see Krishna in the pages of the Bhagavatams. That's the blessing which is there. And just one more point before I come to the next aspect. This hearing process is so important, and we understand this is the principle of Shabda Brahman, right? Shabda Brahman is a sound vibration, is a spiritual sound vibration. And there is a beautiful purport. You can find this in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam 1:2:32. The text speaks about the super soul. It goes like this: the Lord as super soul pervades all things, just as fire permeates wood, and so he appears to be of many varieties, though he is the absolute one without a second. So the text in itself describes how the super soul is all pervading. But then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada makes a very nice point. He says, the Lord can be realized through the oral reception of the transcendental message, and that is the only way to experience the transcendental subject. So how to experience transcendental subject? Through the oral reception, through the ear. And then Prabhupada says, as fire is kindled from wood by another fire. Like you have wood, and actually if you rub wood, the fire is already inside. It just needs to come out. Or if some little flame comes, then the wood is touched, and again the fire comes out of that wood. So similarly, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace. His divine grace, the spiritual master, can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual message injected through the receptive ear. Therefore, one is required to approach a proper spiritual master with receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized. And Prabhupada said that's the difference between animal and man, because human can listen, animal cannot. So basically what happens here, a sadhu, a spiritual master, a realized personality, he speaks Krishna Katha, and the devotee listens that sound vibration, and then the sound vibration comes out of the mouth, enters into your ears, from the ears it enters into the heart, and in the heart bhakti is awakened, kindled through that sound vibration. And of course, the more the speaker has realized, the more can be awakened in the heart of the listeners. That's the principle. So the next 20 days you have many wonderful speakers. Today you have to be a little patient, but the other days you will have very advanced speakers, and then hopefully by their Shabda Brahman, your heart can be kindled with bhakti. So that sound vibration is very powerful, and that's why the hearing process is so important. So these are 2 points we covered till now, and I will soon come to an end so we can wrap up and have some discussion also. So we spoke about how the Bhagavatam is literally incarnation of the Lord and how he appears, and how the Lord is reached through the devotee. And I just want to end with a few thoughts on the relationship to the Bhagavatam. Right? In our advertisement message, we also quoted this text from Sanatana Goswami. Madeka bandhu mat sangim mat guru mama madana manishtara mat bhagya mat ananta namostute asadu sadhu dadain atini jojata kara hanumuncha kadachin mam premnarid kantaya spura. O Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, O my only friend, my companion, my teacher, my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer my respectful obeisance unto you. O Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, giver of the saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifested upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. That's the prayer. So from this prayer, you are my bandhu, my friend, my sangim, my companion, my guru, my teacher, my dhana, my wealth, my anand, my bhakya, anand. So this indicates Sanatana Goswami has really established a relationship. It's not just a book. This Bhagavatam is everything to him. And that's the Vaishnava. For a Vaishnava, Bhagavatam becomes everything. Why? Because that Bhagavatam is no different from Krishna. So, and this is a meditation we should, reflect on. If you realize the truth that Bhagavatam is no different from Krishna, so naturally we want to have a relationship with the Bhagavatam. We want to serve the Bhagavatam. We want to study the Bhagavatam. We want to associate. There's no question of pushing ourselves. Oh, I should read. I didn't read. I should read some Prabhupada's books. There's no question of I should. I want. No, I become eager to do so because I want to associate. And we understand it's not just an academic study. It's about a relationship. Krishna can only be understood by bhakti, right? Bhakti mam abhajanati yavana yaschasmi tattvadaha. Can only understand me as I am by devotional service. So similarly, the Bhagavatam can only be understood by devotion. It's not, of course, we should do academic study in the sense of learning shlokas and throughout study and understand. That's fine. But at the end of the day, the Bhagavatam will reveal itself to us. We will receive a taste in the Bhagavatam by mercy. And we have to approach the Bhagavatam with devotion. And just as Krishna is attained through the mercy of the devotees, similarly the Bhagavatam is also understood by the mercy of the devotees. And just as the aim of our sadhana is to develop love of God, the aim of the Bhagavatam is to transform our hearts so that we may develop that love. And here the Bhagavatam plays a very important role. Why does the Bhagavatam play an important role? How can you love someone if you don't know the person? No, our goal is to love Krishna. That's what we're trying to establish. No? We are sadhakas. There is a sadhana. There is sadhya. What is the sadhya? Bhava, prema. That's the goal. We want to establish love for Krishna. But how can we love someone if we don't know the person? So how do we know about Krishna? By hearing from the Bhagavatam. And there comes the Bhagavatam plays such an important role that when we hear from the Bhagavatam about Krishna, that's when we can develop love. And therefore the Acharyas, they emphasize that we need to become very, very eager to hear about Krishna. And Srila Narottam Das Thakur in his Prema Bhakti Chandrika makes the point that Loba Sadhusanga Harikatha, actually one should become greedy. In principle, greed is not a good quality, Anger and lust and envy and greed, these are the ripus, the enemies of the soul. But then Narottam says, well, we can engage them. So we can engage greed, we can engage by becoming greedy to hear about Bhagavatam. And I think you're already doing that because you signed up for this 21-day Bhagavatam challenge. So you're greedy to hear about Bhagavatam. It's very good. So that greed should be developed, that should be encouraged. Srila Prabhupada writes in one purport in the 4th canto that because it's a prayer of Dhruva Maharaj where he says he wants to hear about the pastimes of the Lord. And Prabhupada writes in the purport, one should become mad after hearing Krishna Katha. One should become completely mad. One should become very greedy, very eager. One should become addicted to hear Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. And Prabhupada says one should be addicted just like a drug addict becomes addicted to intoxication. This is a strong statement. If you know someone is really addicted to drugs, he will do everything and anything to get that drug. And of course, it's a very miserable situation. But that kind of intensity is needed. Shrinvata Svakata Krishna. Shrinva means an urge. Someone who has developed an urge, a strong desire, then the heart will be purified by that listening. So that's, and also Prabhupada in Rupa Goswami describes that this eagerness, loliam is the price. Prabhupada explains that one should learn how to cry for the Lord, one should learn this small technique, one should be very eager and actually become engaged in some particular service. And the only price, basically to go back home to Godhead, is this eagerness. The laulyam is the price for going home back to Godhead. So that should be applied also to the study and hearing of the Bhagavatam. So in this way, today we heard about how the Bhagavatam is an avatar of Krishna, how is it non-different, how Prabhupada emphasized the need to hear from a devotee, and the two kinds of Bhagavat, Grantha and Bhakta Bhagavat. And we spoke a little bit about the importance of hearing, how it works with the Shabda Brahman, how we are touched through the listening from sadhus, and then how we should become very eager or even greedy to hear Krishna Katha. Hare Krishna. So I will stop at this point and see whether we have any questions or comments on what we discussed. I think you can type your question in the chat, right? Or
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, thank you so much for the nectar of devotion.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your taking out time for this lecture in Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are a few questions, and I'd like to read it for you, dear devotees. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat box, because practically taking questions through voice is difficult. Best is that you put in the chat box, and then we can ask Prabhu. So yes, that is an ideal way in this when there are so many participants. It is the best that we do it this way. So yes, Okay, so there are many questions here, Prabhuji. Okay. So is hearing person in front same as online hearing screen?
Yeah, that question must come, huh? I mean, of course, we don't have any Shastric references because at the time of Shastras there were no Zoom. Well, I mean, my understanding to have direct association, physical association is of course always the best. No, it also says that we should receive the merciful glance of the sadhu. That's why sometimes devotees sit, I mean, those who are very eager sit in the front. They sit very in the front of the speaker, so that hopefully the speaker will look at them, so to receive the merciful glance of the speaker. No, if you have a Zoom class with 226 participants, and some have even shut off their camera, no, there is this exchange is not taking place so much, right? The exchange between the speaker and the listener. There is a limited way of exchange on that level, because it has to do also with the spiritual master sadhus. They extending mercy. They're seeing oh, this person is very attentive, listening. So the sadhu maybe see, okay, I wish that this person make progress. So there's this exchange on a subtle level, which takes place in a presence. So I would say whenever you get a chance to have presence association, you should be very eager to go, even if you have to travel far distance to see some devotees. Please take advantage of physical association. But then, of course, in the absence of the physical association, we are very happy to use the technique that we have, technology like Zoom, and this also provides a space for Sangha. And I think we all make the experience. Actually, it's quite surprisingly how much we can create an atmosphere, we can exchange even via that Zoom. That's also possible. So certainly there is also benefit of this, but physical is always, direct association is always the best.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. The second question is, okay. What does Lagan means? Oh, what is this? This is not good. I don't know, sometimes. What is the difference between Rupa and Swarupa?
Rupa and Swarupa. In which context? I mean, Rupa, of course, Rupa means form, manifestation, and Swa means the own manifestation. Like in my name is Krishna Prema Rupa, right? Dasa. So basically that's the name of Mahaprabhu, no? Because Prema Rupa, like a form of love of God. So who is a form of love? This is Mahaprabhu. And of course I'm Dasa, I'm a servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So in this name, the word Rupa simply means a form manifestation. But then sometimes we speak about Swarup Siddhi, for example. Then it's about our eternal identity. Our Swa means our own. So then Swarupa means our own form, our original form. So I mean, these are Sanskrit terms. It always depends on in which context you use the words like that. So
another next question, Prabhu, is that I want to read Srila Prabhupada's books, but Prabhuji, I don't the right way to read. I'm currently reading Bhagavad Gita. Should I continue with that, or should I start another Grantha along with that?
So currently reading,
because there are many in this many in this group who are who also joined the 21 days reading challenge with who are reading Bhagavad Gita. So we told them that continue with the Bhagavad Gita and take out half an hour for Bhagavatam as well.
Yeah. That's nice. Prabhupada made a statement that actually one should read every day one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. There's a statement by Prabhupada. All the devotees should read one chapter of Gita every day. I know that, I remember once I picked up His Holiness Chayadvaita Maharaj from the airport, and then we were sitting in a car, and Maharaj said, "A chapter a day keeps Maya away." And he turned to his servant, "Please read." And his servant then started to read the chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So from that I could understand, a chapter a day keeps Maya away. So, Jayadvaita Maharaj obviously has the habit to every day hear one chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So that's a nice habit we can do, should do. But then alongside of that, we have the Bhagavatam, which we just glorified for an hour, and we want to develop that relationship, so we should daily also study Bhagavatam.
Why should importance of reading? Like I was explaining the other day, Prabhu, that reading also is a part of Shravana, because when you're reading, you're also hearing.
Yes.
So because many times devotees question that, Prabhuji, in Navida Bhakti, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Adhyan, Swadhyaya is not there only. So why should we read? So today also we got a question that that why reading is important. So I just want to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good, yeah. So now for an hour we spoke about the importance of hearing, but actually I want to encourage devotees to read. I mean, some of you may know I'm serving at the Ministry of Education, and there we have this Books are the Basis week where we encourage devotees to read Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Well, why is this important? Because, well, in ancient times there were no books. Or in ancient times, if you were a practitioner, you would live with your guru in the ashram, and every day you would listen for hours. And in such circumstances, yes, there is not so much need for personal reading if you hear from the guru all the time. And of course, if you really become a sadhu, a scholar or so, then you may also read and go deeper to the swadhyaya, the personal study. But in nowadays, in our time and place, most of you will be working, you will have family, you will be busy in so many ways. How do you get your daily dose of Krishna Katha? Most of you don't have a chance to listen always directly from a sadhu every day. So, but then we have the books. That's why the acharyas of Vyasadeva wrote the books, because he knew in the age of Kali people will be less intelligent, they will not be able to just hear and remember. We need books. Therefore Vyasadeva wrote all these books. So as Brajasundar Prabhu very nicely pointed out, that the swadhyaya, the reading, is also a kind of hearing. And sometimes I also emphasize loud. If you read, you can read loud to yourself. Then you also hear what you read. And that's also hearing. And the main important point is that we need nourishment. Right? I mean, every day we eat 3 times a day. We nourish our body. We need to nourish our heart and our intelligence with Krishna Katha, and that's we're doing in 2 ways: hearing and reading. And for most of us, reading is therefore a very important part.
There is a question: what is the relationship between Suta Goswami and Shukdev Goswami?
We touched on that because when Parikshit Maharaj was sitting at the bank of the Yamuna or the Ganges, then Suta Goswami, Shukadev Goswami appeared, and he was a speaker of the Bhagavatam. And in the assembly, Suta was there, he was listening, and then Suta came to the forest of Naimisharanya, and he spoke that same Bhagavatam to the sages of Naimisharanya. So basically, Shukadev is the guru of Suta Goswami. From him, he heard the Bhagavatam, and he gave it to the sages.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. There are many Srila Prabhupada's books, so how to go forward? It sometimes gives anxiety that, I didn't read that book. So in your presence, I just want to announce it to everybody. We have launched one level-wise Shastric study program. It is from the basic book of Krishna consciousness, that is the small books of Prabhupada, up to topmost book of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Acharyas. If you go to the website Vedavarsity, you'll get level-wise Shastric study, and in every level there are 4 to 5 books. They're very systematically and chronologically arranged. So if one wants to study, let's say for example, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Jaiv Dharma, or any other major books, which are the other books which you need to study. So all those are very chronologically, organically arranged. So, and it is all freely available. You can all take advantage of that. Vedavarsity is offering all its courses with no upfront charges. So you can go and take shelter of any of these courses. So thank you so much. Another question, Prabhu, that so someone is asking on behalf of a member of congregation, should or can a neophyte devotee chanting 2 rounds who are attending Bhagavad classes can study Bhagavatam systematically?
So the question is, if someone who has just started and maybe not fully have a full sadhana, whether he can already study Bhagavatam, that's the question?
Yeah.
I mean, I would say yes, of course. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, when Srila Prabhupada came to the West preaching to the hippies or to the people in the West, what did he brought with him? The first canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. So, and especially first canto, Srila Prabhupada, because he knew, was not sure whether he will be available, to complete all the translation. So Prabhupada put a lot into the first canto. In the first canto, we have a mini Chaitanya Charitamrita, a mini Ramayana. In the introduction, Prabhupada gives this introduction. And many purports are very lengthy and deep explanation. So just by reading the first canto, one gets a lot. So yes, although there is a sequence of books usually we can read and get familiar, certainly there is no harm to also read Bhagavatam from the beginning, especially first canto, second canto. Usually we don't encourage people to read directly the 10th canto, but first and second canto are like the feet of the Lord, and we can take shelter of the Lord's feet by reading this first and second canto, even in the beginning.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, Srila Prabhupada's book, there is a question that Srila Prabhupada says he's present in his books. So, does reading Srila Prabhupada's books means taking his association?
Yes. I mean, even on a material plane, any book you read, you associate with the author, right? Because the author has put so much into the book, and if you read, you take up his consciousness, his reading. So even on a material plane, that's a fact. What to speak of a personality like Srila Prabhupada? And Srila Prabhupada also declared, I will live forever in my books. So certainly, when we study and read Prabhupada's books, one of the aspects of Shastric study is mood and mission. We not only want to understand the Shastra or learn Shastra, by studying, especially Bhaktivedanta purports, what we can learn is the mood and mission of Srila Prabhupada. Because often Prabhupada speaks very personally in his purports. He reveals something from his heart. So by studying Prabhupada's purports, we actually get a closer understanding of who actually Prabhupada is. So yeah, very essential and certainly.
Thank you. Next question is, I'm a neophyte. How do we pray to the Lord Krishna to shower his mercy so that I can understand Śrīmad Bhāgavatam?
How to pray?
The question is that what should be the prayer so that Allah showers blessings on me and I can understand Bhagavatam?
There's two kind of prayers. There is the prayers by the acharyas, and there is our personal prayers, and both are good. The personal prayers, the advantage is that it's personal. It comes from our heart, so we can spontaneously offer prayer personally. But the disadvantage, sometimes our prayers are not so deep because we are not so deep yet. But then when we take shelter of the prayers of the acharyas, these prayers are filled with deep spiritual emotions. So by reading these prayers, we also can awake some more deeper emotion in our heart. So that's why it's good to have both. You can read a prayer like the prayer we mentioned of Sanatana Goswami. You can usually before studying the Bhagavatam, that's what I usually do. I read this prayer of Sanatana Goswami, and then I start to study. And yeah.
Thank you. How do I increase my eagerness in reading Śrīmad Bhāgavatam?
You tell about the time, huh? Because we are already over time. But so you're the manager about the time. I'm happy to talk, but you tell me. How to increase the eagerness? By attending the 21-day challenge of the Vedavarsity Bhagavatam challenge. you're doing the right thing. This is what will help you to increase your eagerness.
So, being born in a very degraded part of the world and demonic family, we hardly get devotee association. Even ourselves struggle to travel. How do we become eager to get to listen directly from a person Bhagavat?
Yes, I mean, in the absence of that opportunity, we take shelter of this kind of technology, Zoom. This is a wonderful way to get inspiration, association also. And then we have to cry in your heart. Like, how did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appear? Advaita Acharya, he was worshipping a Shalagram Shila with Ganges water and Tulsi. And he was crying and crying. And that crying was heard up to the Vaikuntha planets. And the Lord, attracted by that crying, he manifested. Similarly, if we have a strong desire to associate with a pure devotee of the Lord, if we cry, if we sincerely have a desire, the Lord, it's this Paramatma actually personally will manifest as a sadhu in our lives. But it depends on our prayer. No, it's when we have a strong desire, Krishna will make arrangement. Even if you live in a far away place, Krishna can make all arrangements.
So, can we write something on Śrīmad Bhāgavatam for making some notes?
To write on the Bhagavatam. Well, usually that's not encouraged. To write in the book directly, it's usually not encouraged. Sometimes, some devotees say mark, and you could argue, one of my Bhakti Shastra teachers said, you could argue that's like putting makeup on Krishna. Like, you highlight. Yeah, but to write inside the book usually is not encouraged. There's, especially nowadays, there is many. Of course, nowadays you have these iPads. You can write notes in or separately. Yeah. But yeah, I guess maybe different teacher will give different answer. But
Yes,
but Jasondra, what would you say? You are a teacher also.
what I recommend is that I don't use a small pencil, okay, pencil, and then you can mark. Don't do all the things. Just some important points on the purports very far. Just underline that very lightly, so
Yeah.
that it's there at the same time it's not there. So
Yeah.
there is
And
simple way.
it can be removed also easily. It's
Yes,
not,
it can be rubbed out. The simple pencil solves all the problem instead of using the pen or using the marker. So it's better is just pencil is
Here
good.
I also did some pencil here.
Yes. So then, Prabhuji, do you have time for 3-4 more questions?
I have, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is it recommended to read Krishna book, which is a detailed version of 10th canto before reading first 9 cantos? Because Prabhupada ji has allowed Krishna book to be distributed freely. So how is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes a bit confusing. On one side, we say first you have to read the first 9 cantos, and only then you're allowed to read the 10th canto. On the other hand, Prabhupada publishing the Krishna book, which is the 10th canto, and it's distributed for the newcomer on the street. So it's like to be really a contradiction, right? Well, yeah, that's a special mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I would say there is a general principle that we don't jump. We try to go step by step. And Prabhupada makes the point that if you read carefully from the 1st till the 9th canto, at the end of the 9th canto, you will be a self-realized soul, and then you can relish the 10th canto. We need to understand the greatness of Krishna, the power of Krishna, and then we will appreciate the sweetness much more. But then at the same time, Chintya Veda Veda Tattva, Prabhupada also very kindly gives the Krishna book. And of course, we should read Krishna book. Prabhupada himself suggested every evening we should drink a hot milk and read the Krishna book. The thing is with Krishna book, Prabhupada very carefully not only gave the 10th canto's verses, but also included his purports. He included his explanations. So that's why reading Krishna book actually is a very safe way to study the Bhagavatam, because within the text we also have Prabhupada's explanation, which guide us along the way we read these pastimes.
So basically, if there is another question called saying that Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam, if different speakers speaks differently on a particular topic, difference on the Srimad Bhagavatam, what to do? Which speaker to retain and which to let go?
Actually, that's very nice to. Sometimes maybe you have some question or some doubt. It's actually very nice to ask different speakers, and you will hear many different answers. And some people feel like, oh, this is confusing. I just want to hear one message. But actually, if you hear from different speakers, you hear a different message that can actually broaden your perspective. And you can, as Prabhupada says, try to understand from all kinds of angles, different visions. No? Of course, there is also, I think Jiva Goswami in the Sandarbhas makes the point that actually in the very beginning, when our Shraddha, our faith is weak, sometimes it's good to just listen from one person to establish some, usually we find one Shiksha Guru, one person, we develop some faith, we listen from that person, and that person helps us to build up our faith. And often that same person later becomes our Diksha Guru. So that's also there. At the same time, once we're a bit more established, established in Bhakti, it's good to get different perspective.
Yes. So if we can't read the shloka fluently, is it aparadh?
Well, we can learn. We can learn, read. I'm sure Vedavarsity also has some courses on how to recite shlokas. We can learn that because it's nice to try to pronounce it properly. But Srila Prabhupada, there was a conversation, and someone was criticizing Prabhupada's disciples. They're not even chanting properly. They don't pronouncing Sanskrit properly. And Prabhupada was very heavy on that person. He defended his disciples, and he made a point that, like if you go to China, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, they're not able to, in the language they don't really have that. So Prabhupada says, even if they chant like that, Krishna in the heart knows. Krishna, he sees the essence, he sees the intention, and so Krishna will take that. And of course, from our side, we should endeavor to try to pronounce properly, but from Krishna's side, Krishna sees our intention.
So basically, the Vedic the mantras from the Vedas, they have a lot of regulations. With Bhagavad mantras, even if there are some here and there, Krishna will understand.
Yeah. Of course, we know when we hear the story of Vritrasura, and so of course there can be consequences if you chant the mantra wrong. That's also there. But yeah, with in our Bhakti tradition, Krishna is there.
So Prabhu, thank you so much for your valuable association. I really, on personal level, also enjoyed, and definitely all the devotees who are hearing you, we got to know a lot of comments that they loved your class. So thank you so much for your association, for your friendship, for your affection and care, and your valuable time you gave for the Vedavarsity. Thank you so much, and we look forward for further courses also with you. I'm taking a promise from you, Prabhuji. Would you like to do some courses with us, Prabhuji?
Oh, I'm open, certainly.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So let us chant. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prajasundar Prabhu, again for your wonderful service and for considering me as a speaker, inviting me. It's very kind. And it was a pleasure to have your associations.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj ki jai, Krishna Prem Prabhu ki jai ho.
Gaura Bhakta Brinda ki jai.
Thank you so much, everyone. Tomorrow before the class starts, we will be discussing about how to make notes while you're studying. So that is an important topic. We'll like to take up in 10 minutes. Not an elaborate version, but a simple version of how to make notes while you study. So that is just before the class. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.